The morning of my college graduation dawned bright and clear, the kind of perfect May day that seemed made for new beginnings. I stood in front of the mirror in my small off-campus apartment, carefully adjusting the cap on my head, making sure the tassel hung just right. For years of relentless work, maintaining a 3.9 GPA, while working 20 hours a week to cover expenses my scholarships didn't, had culminated in this moment. "You look great," my roommate Kayla said, leaning against the doorframe. "How does it feel to be graduating summa cum laude with a double major?" I smiled, smoothing down the front of my graduation gown. "Surreal. I keep thinking they'll realize there's been a mistake." "No mistake," Kayla insisted, giving me a quick hug. "You earned this. I've never seen anyone work as hard as you." If only my family felt the same way. I checked my phone for the third time that morning. My parents and sister had arrived in Boston the previous evening, staying at the Marriott downtown rather than in my apartment's pull-out couches I'd offered. "We want to be comfortable," Mom had explained. What she meant was that my sister Jennifer wanted to be comfortable. Jennifer always got what she wanted. There was a text from my father: "We'll meet you at the ceremony. Your mother is helping Jennifer with her hair." Jennifer wasn't even graduating. She completed her medical residency 2 years earlier, and now worked as a surgeon at a prestigious hospital in Chicago. She was 32 to my 22 and had always been the family star. But today was supposed to be my day. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that they had come. That was what mattered, wasn't it? They'd flown in from Illinois to see me graduate from Boston University, with degrees in international relations and economics. They'd be there when I walked across the stage. Kayla drove me to campus, where graduating seniors in their black gowns were already gathering, hugging friends and taking photos. I scanned the crowd for my family, finally spotting them near the entrance to the main ceremony area. Dad, tall and a bit stooped, now in his 60s, was easy to pick out. Beside him stood my mother, elegant as always in a navy dress, and Jennifer, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine in a cream-colored pantsuit. That probably cost more than my entire semester's expenses. "There's my college graduate," Dad called, giving me a warm hug. Mom offered a quick embrace, already glancing around at the other families. "Is this where we're supposed to be?" she asked, consulting the program. "The ceremony starts in 30 minutes. "Yes, I need to line up with my department soon," I explained. "But I wanted to see you first." Jennifer gave me a perfunctory hug. "The cap's a bit crooked," she said, reaching out to adjust it. "They're not better." "So, this is Boston University, huh?" "The campus is smaller than I expected." I bit my tongue. Jennifer had attended Northwestern for her undergraduate degree, followed by Johns Hopkins for medical school, and never missed an opportunity to draw comparisons. "It's actually one of the largest private research universities in the country," I said mildly. "The campus is just integrated into the city." Jennifer replied, clearly unimpressed. "Well, it looks nice enough." "Where are we sitting, Mom?" My mother consulted the tickets I'd sent weeks earlier. "Section C, apparently." "Will we be able to see you, Alexandra?" "I'll be with the international relations graduates," I explained. "I'm one of the student speakers." This caught my mother's attention. "You're speaking? You didn't tell us that." "I did, actually. It was in the email I sent last month with all the details." "Well, your father and I have been very busy. Jennifer's been considered for department chief, you know." At 32, Jennifer added with a practiced humility that fooled no one. "Youngest ever, if I get it." "That's great," I said, genuinely meaning it despite the familiar sting of having my achievements overshadowed. "I should go line up now. I'll see you after the ceremony by the East Fountain, okay?" "We have dinner reservations at 7, Mom reminded me. At that Italian place Jennifer wanted to try. "Don't be late." As I walked away to join my fellow graduates, I overheard Jennifer say, "I still don't understand why she chose international relations. Such a vague degree. What do you even do with that?" My mother's response was lost as I moved further away, but I didn't need to hear it. I'd heard variations of this conversation my entire life. Medicine was concrete, respectable, prestigious. My interests were abstract and practical, a phase one was going through. Never mind that I'd already accepted a position with the State Department, starting with a 2-year placement at the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok. Never mind that I'd beaten out hundreds of applicants for one of only 12 spots in the highly competitive program. The ceremony proceeded as planned. I delivered my speech about global citizenship and interconnectedness in the modern world, without a single stumble, even earning a standing ovation from many in the audience. As I scanned the crowd, I could see my father standing and clapping enthusiastically. My mother and sister remained seated, politely applauding. When my name was called to receive my diploma, the announcer added, "Graduating summa cum laude with dual degrees in international relations and economics, and recipient of the Global Leadership Award." A cheer went up from my classmates. I have made my mark here, even if my family couldn't see it. Afterward, I found my family waiting by the fountain as planned. Dad enveloped me in a bear hug. "You were amazing up there, kiddo." That speech knocked it out of the park. "Thanks, Dad," I said, feeling a genuine rush of pleasure at his praise. "It was very nice, dear," Mom added, checking her watch. "We should start heading to the restaurant if we want to make that reservation." "Actually, there's a reception for the honors graduates first," I said. "It's just an hour. My advisor specifically asked me to attend." My mother sighed. "Jennifer has an early flight tomorrow. We really should get to dinner." "You go ahead," I offered, swallowing my disappointment. "I can meet you at the restaurant." "Don't be silly," Jennifer interjected. "It's your graduation." "We'll wait." This unexpected support from my sister surprised me. Perhaps she was making an effort. The reception was held in one of the university's historic buildings, where faculty mingled with graduating seniors and their families. My advisor, Professor Harlow, made a beeline for us when we entered. "Alexandra. Brilliant speech," she said, shaking my hand warmly before turning to my family. "You must be so proud. Alexandra has been the star of our department. We're actually creating a new award next year inspired by her work on sustainable economic development. The faculty unanimously voted to name it after her." I hadn't known about this and felt a flush of genuine pleasure. "Well, isn't that something?" my father said, beaming. "She's always been academically inclined," my mother acknowledged with a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "More than inclined," Professor Harlow continued enthusiastically. "Alexandra's thesis has been accepted for publication in the Foreign Policy Journal, almost unheard of for an undergraduate. Several faculty members suggested she should apply directly to PhD programs, but I understand the State Department snapped her up first." "Bangkok, isn't it?" "Yes," I confirmed. "I leave in August." "Bangkok," my mother repeated, her expression hardening. "You never mentioned moving to Thailand." "I did, Mom. Several times. It's a 2-year placement, then I'll likely be reassigned somewhere else." "But that's so far away," she said, concern finally showing through her usual reserve. "And dangerous." "Isn't it dangerous, Jennifer?" My sister, ever ready to offer an expert opinion on topics outside her expertise, nodded gravely. "Southeast Asia has several endemic diseases. The political situation can be unstable, not to mention the pollution in Bangkok." Professor Harlow raised an eyebrow but diplomatically changed the subject. "The embassy in Bangkok is considered a premier posting. They only select the most promising candidates. You should be very proud." My father put his arm around my shoulders. "We're proud. Right, Margaret?" "Of course," my mother said after a slight hesitation. "Though I still think you could have applied to law school. Jennifer's friend Melissa's daughter just got into Harvard Law." Professor Harlow's smile tightened slightly, but she maintained her professionalism. "If you'll excuse me, I should greet some other families. Alexandra, don't leave without saying goodbye." As she walked away, Jennifer said, "Your professor seems enthusiastic." "She's been an amazing mentor," I replied, HMM. "Academics can be a bit over the top with the praise. In medicine, we're much more measured. You have to earn every bit of recognition." "I did earn it," I said, a rare edge creeping into my voice. "Every award, every honor. While working 20 hours a week at the library because my scholarship didn't cover all my expenses." Jennifer looked surprised at my tone. I wasn't suggesting otherwise, just that different fields have different standards, and medical standards are higher. "Is that what you're saying?" My mother stepped between us, physically and conversationally. "Girls, not today. It's a celebration." She checked her watch again. "We should head to dinner now if we want to make that reservation." As we made our way out of the reception, stopping several times as classmates and professors congratulated me, I could feel my mother's impatience growing. Once we were outside, walking toward the restaurant a few blocks away, she linked her arm through Jennifer's. "Your sister's graduation has been lovely," she said. "But I can't wait to get home and help you prepare for that chief position interview. Have you thought more about what you'll wear?" I walked slightly behind them with my father, clutching my diploma and trying to hold on to the pride I'd felt walking across the stage. This was still my day, I told myself. Nothing could take away what I'd accomplished. We reached the upscale Italian restaurant Jennifer had selected, where my parents had reserved a private dining area, despite my assurances that the main dining room would be fine. As we were seated, the waiter brought complimentary champagne. "A special occasion?" he asked. "My daughter's graduation," my father announced proudly. "Congratulations," the waiter said to Jennifer automatically. "Not me," Jennifer corrected with a laugh. "I graduated from medical school years ago." "It's my little sister." The waiter turned to me with a smile. "Congratulations. What's your degree in?" Before I could answer, my mother said she studied international relations and economics. Her sister is a surgeon. Both impressive, the waiter said diplomatically before taking our drink orders. As he walked away, my father raised his champagne glass. A toast, he declared. To Alexandra, graduate of Boston University. We're proud of you, sweetheart. My mother raised her glass as well, but couldn't resist adding. Your sister's medical degree was harder to earn, of course, but we're proud of you too, I guess. It's still a nice achievement. The words hung in the air like a slab. Jennifer had the grace to look embarrassed. My father's smile froze, then fell away entirely. Margaret, he said quietly, a warning in his tone. What? My mother responded defensively. It's true. Medical school is objectively more difficult than undergraduate studies, even with 2 majors. I'm not saying we're not proud. I set my champagne glass down untouched, a cold clarity washing over me. This moment, this casual dismissal of my achievements on the very day meant to celebrate them, crystallized something I'd felt but never fully acknowledged. In my mother's eyes, and by extension Jennifer's, I would always be the lesser daughter. No accomplishment of mine could ever compare to my sister's medical career. Excuse me, I said, standing abruptly. I need some air. I walked out of the restaurant onto the busy Boston street, breathing deeply, fighting back tears that threatened to undermine the composure I was desperate to maintain. After a moment, I heard the door open behind me. Alex, wait. It was my father, his face lined with concern. Your mother didn't mean that the way it sounded. Yes, she did, Dad. She absolutely did. He sighed, unable to deny it. She's proud of you in her way. She and Jennifer are similar. They understand each other. They've always been closer. And you and I are the odd ones out, I finished for him. It wasn't a new realization. My quiet, bookish father had been my ally since childhood, the one who'd attended my debate competitions and Model UN conferences when my mother was busy with Jennifer's medical school interviews or white coat ceremonies. Come back inside, he urged. Don't let this ruin your graduation dinner. I looked at him, this kind man who had spent decades making excuses for my mother's behavior, smoothing things over, keeping the peace. It's not just dinner, Dad. It's my entire life. Nothing I do will ever be good enough for them. And I'm tired of trying. In that moment, standing on a Boston sidewalk in my graduation gown, diploma in hand, I made a decision. I was done seeking approval I would never receive. Done measuring my worth against my sister's accomplishments. Done accepting the scraps of recognition thrown my way. I was about to embark on a new chapter, thousands of miles away from the family dynamics that had shaped and constrained me for 22 years. Perhaps that distance wasn't just a career opportunity, but a chance to discover who I could be outside my sister's shadow. I'll come back in, I told my father, straightening my shoulders. But not because I'm letting it go. Because from now on, I'm not letting their opinions define me. He smiled sadly, recognizing something new in my voice, a determination, an edge that hadn't been there before. That's my girl, he said softly, holding the door for me. I returned to the table, where my mother was examining the wine list as if nothing had happened, and my sister was typing something on her phone. We're thinking of ordering the 2015 Barolo, my mother announced. Jennifer says it's excellent. Fine, I said, unfolding my napkin and placing it in my lap with deliberate care. The hurt was still there, but something else was building alongside it, a quiet resolve that would carry me forward into my new life. The truth was, I didn't need my mother to be proud of me. I was proud of myself, and that would have to be enough. 2 years in Bangkok transformed me in ways I never anticipated. The Alexandra who arrived at Suvarnabhumi airport in August, timid, eager to please, and still nursing wounds from my graduation day, was barely recognizable in the confident diplomat I'd become. My position at the U.S. Embassy started in the consular section, processing visas and helping American citizens in distress. Within 6 months, my language aptitude and work ethic earned me a transfer to the political section, where I helped analyze Thailand's complex political landscape and drafted briefings for the ambassador. By my second year, I was leading diplomatic engagements with Thai officials on sustainable development initiatives. Drawing on my economics background, I'd made a home in a small apartment near Lumpini Park, where I jogged each morning before the tropical heat became unbearable. I'd formed close friendships with fellow diplomats and local Thai colleagues. I'd even had a serious relationship with Julian, a British economic attaché, though we'd amicably parted ways when he accepted a posting in South Africa. Most importantly, I created a life that was entirely mine, built on my own merits, free from comparisons to Jennifer or anyone else. Communication with my family had been sporadic. Dad and I exchanged emails every few weeks, and he'd visited once, spending a delightful week letting me show him around Bangkok's temples, markets, and canals. Mom and Jennifer remained distant presences, occasionally appearing on family video calls that inevitably devolved into updates about Jennifer's career advancement and dating life. I declined traveling home for holidays, citing the expense and time commitment, though the truth was I needed the distance to heal and grow. Now, as my 2-year assignment neared its end, I faced a decision: accept the offered extension in Bangkok, or take a new posting in Washington, D.C. The choice would determine not just my career path, but how I'd navigate my family relationships moving forward. My deliberation was interrupted by an unexpected email from Jennifer. The subject line read simply, "Need to talk." This was unusual. Jennifer rarely contacted me directly. I opened it with curiosity. "Alex, I'm coming to Bangkok next week for a medical conference. I know this is last minute, but I'd like to see you. There are things we should discuss. Let me know if you're available." Jen, I read it twice, puzzled by its cryptic tone. In 2 years, neither Jennifer nor my mother has shown any interest in visiting me in Thailand. What had changed? I replied that I'd be happy to meet her, suggesting dinner at my favorite riverside restaurant. Her response came quickly with her flight details and a simple thanks. "See you then." The week passed in a flurry of diplomatic meetings and paperwork as I prepared handover notes for various projects, still uncertain about whether I'd be staying or leaving. Jennifer's impending visit lingered at the back of my mind, a source of both anticipation and anxiety. When the day arrived, I left work early to change and mentally prepare. I chose a sleek black dress that projected the professional confidence I cultivated, so different from the eager to please younger sister Jennifer would remember. The restaurant I'd selected offered stunning views of the Chao Phraya River and the Temple of Dawn, illuminated against the night sky. I arrived early, securing a table on the terrace, where the evening breeze offered relief from Bangkok's persistent heat. Jennifer arrived precisely on time, looking immaculate despite what must have been a 20-hour journey. She wore a designer pantsuit that somehow had increased during the flight, her dark hair cut in a stylish bob that framed her face perfectly. "Alex," she said, embracing me briefly. "You look different." 2 years will do that, I replied with a smile. "You look well. How was your flight?" "Long but comfortable. First class makes everything tolerable." The small talk continued through our drink orders, a local craft beer for me, sparkling water for Jennifer. "So," I said once we were alone again, "what brings you to Bangkok?" "Your email mentioned a medical conference." Jennifer nodded. "International Surgical Technique Symposium. I'm presenting a paper on minimally invasive cardiac procedures." She paused, studying me. "But that's not why I wanted to see you." I gathered as much. She took a deep breath. "Dad's sick, Alex." The world seemed to tilt slightly. "What do you mean, sick? What's wrong with him?" "Early-stage pancreatic cancer. They caught it during a routine checkup. He's been having some digestive issues. She hesitated. "It's operable, but the prognosis is guarded." "You know the statistics for pancreatic cancer." I did know. As the daughter of a doctor, I'd absorbed more medical knowledge than the average person. Pancreatic cancer, even caught early, was serious. "When did you find out?" 3 weeks ago. He didn't want to tell you." 3 weeks? I repeated, anger flaring. "You've all known for 3 weeks, and no one thought to inform me immediately?" Jennifer had the grace to look uncomfortable. "Dad insisted we wait until after his first meetings with the oncologist. He didn't want to worry you unnecessarily." "That wasn't his decision to make, Dad, or yours." My hands clenched around my beer glass. "I'm a diplomat, Jen, not a child. I handle sensitive information in critical situations daily. I could have handled this." "I know," she said, surprising me with her direct acknowledgement. "That's why I'm here. I told Dad it wasn't right to keep you in the dark, and I volunteered to tell you in person." I tried to process this information, my mind racing ahead to logistics, requesting emergency leave, booking flights, researching treatment options. "When is the surgery scheduled?" 2 weeks from now. Dr. Whitman at Northwestern Memorial is doing it. He's the best in Chicago for this type of procedure. Of course Jennifer would know the best surgeon. For once, I was grateful for her medical connections. "I need to come home," I said decisively. "That's what I told Dad you'd say." She smiled slightly. "He insisted you shouldn't interrupt your important work." I told him that was ridiculous. This unexpected alliance with Jennifer caught me off guard. "Thank you," I said sincerely. Our food arrived, fragrant curries and grilled river prawns that I'd normally savor, but now could barely taste as my mind worked through the implications of Dad's diagnosis. "How's Mom handling it?" I asked after a few moments of silent eating. Jennifer's expression shifted subtly. "She's Mom. Researching everything, organizing his appointments, managing his diet. But she's scared." "We all are." I nodded, trying to imagine my mother's fear beneath her efficient exterior. And you? How are you doing with all this? Honestly? I'm terrified, Jennifer admitted, vulnerability showing through her composed facade. I may be a doctor, but this is Dad, and pancreatic cancer. Even with my connections, even knowing all the latest treatments. She trailed off. In that moment, Jennifer wasn't the golden child or my lifelong competitor. She was just a woman worried about losing her father. For perhaps the first time, I felt truly connected to my sister. We'll get through this, I said, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. Together. She squeezed back, then withdrew, composure returning as she took a sip of water. There's something else you should know, she said after a moment. Mom's been different since Dad's diagnosis. More reflective. She's been talking about you a lot. Me? She found your State Department performance reviews when she was cleaning Dad's office. Apparently he's kept every one. She read them. Jennifer paused. I think she finally understands what you've accomplished here. I absorbed this, uncertain how to feel. After years of seeking my mother's approval, the idea that she might finally recognize my achievements left me with complicated emotions. A mix of validation, resentment, and a strange emptiness. It doesn't matter, I said finally. I stopped needing her approval a long time ago. Jennifer studied me. Did you really? Because I never stopped needing it and I was always a favorite. The candid admission startled me. What do you mean? My sister sighed, pushing her plate away. Do you think it was easy being the golden child? The constant pressure to maintain perfection. Mom projected all her unfulfilled medical ambitions onto me. Every A- was a disappointment. Every achievement just raised the bar higher for the next one. At least she noticed your achievements, I said, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. She noticed yours too, Alex. She just didn't know how to show it. You have to understand, Mom never understood your world. Medicine she gets. International relations, economics, diplomacy? Those were foreign territories. It was easier to dismiss what she didn't understand than to admit her own limitations. I considered this perspective, that my mother's dismissal might have stemmed from insecurity, rather than genuine disregard. It didn't excuse her behavior, but it offered a new lens through which to view our relationship. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Jennifer looked out at the river, gathering her thoughts. Dad's diagnosis has made me reevaluate a lot of things. Life is fragile, shorter than we like to think. I don't want to waste any more time perpetuating old family dynamics. She turned back to me. I've also realized something else. I've spent my entire career trying to prove myself, working 100-hour weeks, sacrificing any semblance of a personal life. And for what? To be the youngest department chief? To make Mom proud? Isn't that what you wanted? I thought it was. Now I'm not so sure. She gestured around us. You've built a life here, Alex. A meaningful career doing work that matters. You seem content in a way I'm not sure I've ever been. The irony wasn't lost on me. All those years envying Jennifer, only to discover she might have been envying me. I am content, I acknowledged. But it took removing myself from our family dynamic to get there. That's what I'm afraid of, Jennifer said quietly. That I've been so caught up in being Margaret Wilson's brilliant doctor-daughter that I don't know who Jennifer is anymore. As the evening continued, our conversation shifted to lighter topics, my experiences in Thailand, her more amusing medical cases, updates on childhood friends we both lost touch with. By the time we finished our meal, something had shifted between us. Not a complete reconciliation, but the beginning of a more authentic relationship. Outside the restaurant, waiting for our respective taxis, Jennifer turned to me. There's one more thing I should tell you. Something I found when helping Dad organize his papers for the hospital. What's that? Letters from your professors at Boston University. Glowing recommendations for graduate school. Apparently you were accepted to several PhD programs, but turned them down for the State Department. I tensed, uncertain where this was going. Mom found them too, Jennifer continued. She was confused about why you declined such prestigious opportunities. I tried to explain that you'd chosen a different path, one that suited your talents and ambitions. That not everyone defines success the same way. And what did she say to that? Jennifer's smile was tinged with sadness. She said she wished she'd understood you better. That maybe she'd been wrong to measure both of us by the same yardstick. I absorbed this information, unsure whether to trust it. That doesn't sound like Mom. People can change, Alex. Sometimes it takes a crisis to make them reevaluate their perspectives. She paused as her taxi arrived. Will you come home for the surgery? Of course. I'll request emergency leave tomorrow, good? She embraced me, holding on longer than usual. I'm sorry it took Dad getting sick for us to have this conversation. As I watched her taxi disappear into Bangkok's busy traffic, I felt oddly unmoored. The family dynamics I'd fled halfway across the world to escape were more complicated. Then I'd allowed myself to recognize my sister, the golden child, the perpetual benchmark against which I'd been measured and found wanting, had her own struggles and insecurities. And my mother, was it possible she genuinely reconsidered her treatment of me? Or was this just wishful thinking on Jennifer's part, a romanticized version of our family prompted by the fear of losing Dad? I didn't know what awaited me in Chicago, whether my mother's apparent epiphany would translate to real change, or if old patterns would reassert themselves once the crisis passed. Whether Jennifer and I could build on this newfound understanding, or if we'd revert to our established roles. What I did know was that I was no longer the Alexandra who'd left 2 years ago. Stinging from that casual dismissal at my graduation dinner, I'd found my footing in the world, proven my capabilities, built a life on my own terms. Whatever happened with my family, I would face it from a position of hard-won strength. As I entered my apartment that night, I composed an email to my supervisor requesting emergency leave, then opened my laptop to search for flights to Chicago. On my screen was a still open email offering me the position in Washington, D.C., a prestigious role coordinating Southeast Asian affairs at State Department headquarters. I stared at it for a long moment, then clicked accept. Whatever happened with Dad's treatment, whatever evolved with my mother and sister, it was time to return to American soil. Not as the overlooked younger daughter, but as a diplomat who'd earned her place on the international stage. The next chapter of my life was about to begin, and for the first time, I would be writing it with the full awareness of my own worth, not defined against my sister's achievements, or measured by my mother's approval, but standing confidently in my own right. Chicago's familiar skyline greeted me as my plane descended, the late summer sun glinting off Lake Michigan. After 26 hours of travel from Bangkok, I was exhausted but alert, running on adrenaline and concern for my father. Jennifer waited at the arrivals gate, surprising me. We'd grown closer during her Bangkok visit, but this level of thoughtfulness was new. Dad wanted to come, she explained, taking my carry-on. Mom persuaded him to rest before tomorrow's pre-op appointments. The drive to my parents' suburban home passed with Jennifer updating me on Dad's condition. He's putting on a brave face, but he's scared. We all are. And Mom? I asked, still uncertain what to expect after Jennifer's revelations. Nervous. And she paused. Different with you coming home. She's been cleaning your old room, buying your favorite foods. I didn't know what to make of that. When we arrived, Dad was waiting on the porch despite doctor's orders. His frame thinner than I remembered, but his smile just as warm. There's my globetrotter, he said, embracing me. Look at you, a real diplomat. You should be resting, I scolded gently, noticing the yellowish tinge to his skin, jaundice. A common symptom of pancreatic cancer. Plenty of time for that after we welcome you home properly. Inside, the house smelled of cinnamon and apples, my favorite childhood dessert. Mom emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands nervously on an apron. Alexandra, she said, approaching hesitantly. You look wonderful. The embrace she offered felt awkward but genuine. As we separated, I noticed uncertainty in her eyes, an unfamiliar vulnerability from my always composed mother. I made apple crumble, she said. I remembered it was your favorite. It still is, I replied, touched by this small gesture despite years of emotional distance. Dinner was surprisingly pleasant. Dad asked thoughtful questions about my work, while Mom listened with unusual attentiveness. When I described negotiating a complex development project with Thai officials, she actually looked impressed. That sounds incredibly challenging, she said. Navigating different cultural expectations while representing American interests. I nearly dropped my fork in surprise. It was. Still is, actually. Later, as Jennifer helped Mom clear the dishes, Dad took my hand. I'm glad you're home, Alex, he said softly. Whatever happens with the surgery, don't talk like that, I interrupted. You're going to be fine. He squeezed my hand. Even so, I want you to know how proud I am of the woman you've become. I followed your career closely, every commendation, every achievement. I know, Dad. Jennifer told me you kept my performance reviews. He nodded. Your mother read them too. It opened her eyes. Before I could respond, Mom returned, overhearing his last comment. Yes, I did, she said, sitting down across from me. Alexandra, I've been unfair to you. For years, I measured your success against Jennifer's without considering you were excelling in completely different fields. The directness of her acknowledgement stunned me into silence. Your father's illness has forced me to reevaluate many things, she continued, including how I've treated you. Those reviews helped me understand that you've built something remarkable, on your own terms, without my support. Her voice cracked slightly. I'm sorry for that, Mom. I began, unsure how to respond. You don't need to say anything, she replied. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that I see you now. I'm proud of you without qualifiers or comparisons. Later that night, unable to sleep, I found Jennifer on the back porch. I didn't expect that from Mom, I admitted. Jennifer nodded. Dad's diagnosis changed her, made her realize what really matters. Is it real? Or will she revert once the crisis passes? I think it's real, Jennifer said. But building a new relationship takes time. From both sides. I nodded, understanding the challenge ahead. Not just Dad's health battle, but reconstructing family dynamics built over decades. When did you get so wise? I asked lightly. Jennifer smiled. Probably around the same time you got so confident. As we sat in companionable silence, I realized that for the first time in years, I felt something like hope for my family. Dad's surgery the next day was grueling, 9 hours while we paced the waiting room. I watched Mom pray, something I'd never seen before. When Jennifer slipped into doctor mode, interrogating every passing medical professional, Mom gently pulled her back. Let them do their jobs, Jenny. When the surgeon finally appeared, his expression was cautiously optimistic. We got it all. Recovery will be long, but the prognosis is better than we initially thought. The collective relief was palpable. As Mom embraced me spontaneously, I felt something shift, the first genuine connection we'd shared in years. During Dad's 2-week hospital stay, I witnessed a different side of my mother. She was still organized and efficient, but softer, somehow more willing to show vulnerability. One evening, finding me alone in Dad's room while he slept, she said simply, I was wrong at your graduation. What I said? It was unforgivable. Maybe not unforgivable, I replied carefully. Just deeply hurtful. I didn't see you clearly then, she admitted. I do now. Small steps but meaningful ones. The day before my return to Washington for my new position, we gathered for a family dinner at home. Dad, still weak but recovering well, raised his glass. To Alexandra, our diplomat, and to Jennifer, our doctor. Different paths, equal pride. Mom clinked her glass against mine. Equal pride, she echoed, meeting my eyes with genuine warmth. It wasn't perfect. Years of hurt couldn't be erased by a few weeks of reconciliation. But it was a beginning. One I never expected when I'd fled to Bangkok 2 years earlier, stinging from my mother's dismissive words at my graduation. As I boarded my flight to DC, I carried with me not just the relief of Dad's improving health, but the tentative hope of a family being remade, not through crisis alone, but through the harder, more deliberate work of seeing each other clearly at last. 1 year into my Washington position, I'd established myself as a State Department's go-to expert on Southeast Asian affairs. My Bangkok experience had proven invaluable in negotiating complex trade agreements and security partnerships. Last month, I'd been selected to brief the Secretary of State before her visit to the region, a career milestone that would have seemed impossible to the uncertain graduate I once was. Dad's recovery had progressed better than expected. The surgery had been successful, and 6 months of chemotherapy had shown no signs of recurrence. Though not entirely out of danger, his prognosis had improved from guarded to cautiously optimistic. My relationship with Jennifer had evolved into something resembling genuine friendship. We texted regularly, sharing professional triumphs and frustrations without the undercurrent of competition that had once defined us. Last month, she called to announce she was stepping back from pursuing the department chief position to focus on medical research that truly excited her, a decision she attributed partly to our conversations about defining success on our own terms. The most surprising transformation, however, had been with my mother. What began as crisis-induced remorse had developed into tentative reconciliation, then gradual understanding. Our weekly phone call still contained awkward moments, but increasingly included genuine interest and respect on both sides. This Thanksgiving would be our first full family gathering since Dad's diagnosis. As I drove from the airport to my parents' home, I felt a complex mix of emotions, hope tempered by wariness, excitement edged with old pain. Some wounds heal slowly, if at all. Mom greeted me at the door, elegant as ever but with a new warmth in her smile. Welcome home, Alexandra. Inside, Dad waited with open arms, looking remarkably well, his color restored, weight regained. There's my diplomat. Jennifer arrived soon after, bringing her new boyfriend, a pediatric oncologist who looked at her with undisguised adoration. During dinner, Mom raised her glass. I'd like to propose a toast. To family, not the one we once were, but the one we're becoming. Later, as we prepared dessert, Mom handed me an envelope. This arrived while you were in Thailand. I kept it, waiting for the right moment. Inside was an acceptance letter to Harvard's doctoral program in international relations, dated 2 years earlier. You kept this from me? I asked, confused. Yes, she admitted quietly. I was afraid you'd choose it over the State Department opportunity. I thought academia was more prestigious than government work. The old anger flared briefly, then subsided. Why show me now? Because I was wrong, she said simply. Your path has been exactly right for you. I see that now. I studied her face, searching for the dismissive mother I'd known. Instead, I found genuine regret and something new, respect. I've been offered an ambassadorship, I said, revealing news I planned to share after dinner. Deputy Chief of Mission in Singapore. It's a stepping stone to eventually having my own embassy. Alexandra, that's remarkable, she said, squeezing my hand. Your father will be ecstatic. As we carried dessert to the dining room, I realized something profound had shifted. My mother's approval, once desperately sought and painfully withheld, was no longer necessary for my sense of self. Yet paradoxically, now that I no longer needed it, it was finally, genuinely mine. That evening, as we gathered around the fireplace, Dad asked about my future plans. When I mentioned Singapore, his face lit up with pride. I always knew you'd make your mark on the world, he said. We all did, Mom added, meeting my eyes directly. I just took too long to acknowledge it. The words were simple, but they closed a circle open long ago at a graduation dinner. Not erasing the hurt, but offering a new beginning, one where my accomplishments needed no qualifiers, no comparisons. As I prepared to leave the following day, Mom pressed a small box into my hands. A gift for your new office in Singapore. Inside was a framed photo of my graduation day, me in cap and gown, radiant with accomplishment, with a handwritten note, to Alexandra, whose path has always been extraordinary. Exactly as it is, with admiration and love, Mom, not quite forgiveness. Not yet, but a bridge being built, one careful stone at a time.